Hi, good evening, everyone. It's Terry Gardner from CJ Lawrence. It's January 18th, 2023. Hope your year is off to a good start. The market's had a good start to the year, so we hope that continues. We're currently in the early innings of fourth quarter 2022 reporting season. So we'll follow up in the coming days and weeks on how earnings are coming in from last quarter and what the outlook is and what the outlook is forming for the rest of 2023. Additionally, we'll discuss some cross currents that we're seeing in the markets and the economy, and we'll do that in another video. We're going to mix it up a little bit today, and I want to take you inside the CJ Lawrence investment process and discuss a few of the proprietary models and tools that we use to help inform our views. So this morning, as we do every Wednesday, we meet as an investment committee and we review our portfolios, we discuss the macro backdrop, and we discuss new ideas. And some of the models and the tools that we utilize in that discussion, were developed in the 1970s and 1980s by our chairman, Jim Maltz, who served as CEO and chief market strategist for the original CJ Lawrence for decades. If you knew the original CJ Lawrence, you knew the firm is one steeped in research and in macro insights. The list of CJ Lawrence research alumni reads like a who's who on Wall Street. I'll mention a few of the names, including our chairman, Jim Maltz, who served as chief strategist, as I mentioned. Ed Hyman was the chief economist for decades. He's currently the chairman of Evercore ISI and top-ranked economist for many years. Charlie Maxwell, legendary energy analyst and strategist, was a CJ Lawrence fixture. Nancy Lazar, economist at CJ Lawrence, now the CEO and founder of Cornerstone Macro, which is now part of Piper Sandler. Ed Yardeni was the chief economist at CJ Lawrence as it transitioned to become Deutsche Bank Securities in the early 1990s. Jim Murren, who was my co-director of research at the time and was the gaming analyst, went on to become the CEO and chairman of MGM Resorts. Tom Galvin, the former autos and transportation analyst, now runs the Columbia Select Large Cap Growth Fund. Dana Telsey, a name that you'd recognize if you follow retailers or the financial press. She's often on discussing retailer results. She is the CEO and founder of Telsey Advisors. Aldo Mazzaferro, steel analyst, top ranked for many years. Peter Appert, the same in media, was a former director of research at CJ Lawrence and a top ranked media analyst. And of course, my predecessor, Mark Spellman, who's now a portfolio manager at Alpine Woods. Just to name a few, I am sure that I forgot some, and I'm going to get some nasty emails and calls tomorrow from some of the top people who came through the halls of the original CJ Lawrence, who I failed to mention. To them, I apologize in advance. But to the point of this video, there were a couple of tools and models that portfolio managers and analysts really relied on and that CJ Lawrence was famous for. The first being the CJ Lawrence Market Monitor. So the monitor is meant to give a reading of the current environment and really the comparison between and the competitive comparison between stocks and bonds. And the monitor is comprised of three components. The monitor is composed of 6 components, 2 of which are fundamental models that compare earnings yields on stocks versus bond yields. The next 2 components are interest rate sensitive models. They compare year-over-year performance in bonds as well as rate of change. And the final 2 components are technical and breadth measurements. So 6 components. Where does the monitor currently stand? It's at a neutral, right? So it's got the 2 fundamental components are in a neutral position. So bond yields versus stock yields. It's a real tug of war there. The next 2 components, the interest rate sensitive models, are both in negative territory, as you would expect as rates rise. That's obviously not positive, in fact, negative for stocks. And then the technical and breadth components, the final two, are in positive territory. So the monitor is giving us is not giving us a very strong signal right now. It's leaving it to us to sort out where the market where the advantages are. The second model that we use is we affectionately call it the sector shifts model. And what it does is it measures, going back to the 1980s and even before then, the sector weightings within the S&P 500. And what it shows us is over long periods of time how sectors rise and fall in prominence, in weighting within the index. And it can help us identify sometimes inflection points where certain sectors are regaining prominence with investors, where stocks in those sectors are performing better than they have in past, and are gaining recognition, acceptance, and weighting within the index. We've seen that more recently with energy shares, which were out in the woodshed for years, but now have bottomed in terms of their prominence within the index and are on the rise. Conversely, communication services is going in the opposite direction and losing its weight and losing prominence within the index. So we pay attention to that because it helps us identify some long-term trends. And then finally, there's the rule of 20. The rule of 20 is a tool that you may have heard other strategists and economists cite over time in their work, but and few actually attribute the rule of 20 to C.J. Lawrence. But we have a high degree of confidence that the rule of 20 was a C.J. Lawrence creation, likely back in the 1970s. So in fact, I have a copy of a weekly market comment. This is from November of 1982, where if you can see, Jim Maltz is talking about PEs and the rule of 20, right? So, the ratio has been around for a while. The tool has been around for a while. We'd welcome anyone that claims the creation of the rule of 20 to feel free to shoot us a report that precedes November of 1982, and we're happy to give you credit for it. But importantly, all kidding aside, the tool, the rule, is a very simple ratio of measuring the PE on the market added to the rate of inflation. And surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, unremarkably, going all the way back to 1928, the sum of those two components has historically averaged around 20. So when we look at the market today and we see a price earnings multiple of around 18 times forward multiple, and if you use 5-6% inflation, 7% inflation, whatever inflation number you want to put in there, if you add the two together, you're getting somewhere around a 23 or 24, suggesting that the market multiple may be a little rich. So there's a couple of tools that we use and discuss in our meetings. I thought I'd give you a glimpse into that process. Again, in the coming weeks, we'll circle back with more on earnings and the cross currents that we're seeing in the market. In the meantime, if you've got any questions about the three models and tools that I discussed today, or about your portfolio, feel free to give me a ring at 212-888-6403, or email me at tgardner@cjlawrence.com. Hope everyone has a great rest of your week. Thanks.